Hey, welcome to Silicon Valley After Dark, AI Edition. Man, what a week it's been with GTC, NVIDIA GTC conference all week. Lots of announcements, lots of
Crazy,
stuff going on.
crazy energy. Amazing. Feels like AI is sucking everything into its center of gravity.
Yeah. The warp field, the
Yes.
gravity, like we're Jupiter. We're just pulling everything,
everything in.
into AI. Well, it's their big conference, right?
Yeah.
Jensen Huang was on, did his keynote, kicks it off as always, and talks about the current Blackwell GPUs and how they're doing. What's up with that?
Yeah, no, I mean, the biggest sort of thing about that 3 hour sort of show on stage was they're going to be doing about $1 trillion in revenue by end of 2027, which is a massive number. So wonder what that means for their market cap, etc. I mean, the market didn't move at all, so I guess it was all priced in right now. But between Blackwell and the next gen, which is Vera Rubin, is where all of that revenue is going to come from. And he had a ton of things to show, right, and share.
And that's like a double their estimate, right? Like what they projected, was 500 billion, and they're coming in and going, nope, we're wrong. It's going to be $1 trillion,
right? It's crazy.
That just sets such high expectations for everybody else in the industry, right? That it's like,
good point.
Boy,
Good point.
that's a hard act to follow, right?
Right.
But even the market still reacts like, oh, but we were hoping for more, right? Like, give us more. Maybe they're slowing down now. Right?
I honestly don't know what the market is thinking, but clearly there's a lot of eyes on NVIDIA. So bunch of people thinking about, hey, what does the picture really look like for them? I think where really Wall Street in general and people are not clear is, hey, are our estimates too low, or is the question, right? Like, because the speed at which AI is progressing and these agentic workflows, etc., that we're seeing, I mean, the inference amount of inference that's needed, the compute that's needed, I think it's hard for people to just kind of.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at the major vendors that are delivering it, Grok and others, like, I'm getting the come back later, I'm busy, right? And you can imagine that the amount of compute GPU, for inference, and then as we use more and more of it, like just 2 months ago, I was probably using AI, 2 or 3 times a day, right? Now it's kind of like every hour, every half an hour.
Correct.
I'm just on an AI, using AI, and I'm not even using it for my official capacity workflow. This is just my personal use, right? But you can imagine where people are using Gemini, right, and using it or Claude to do programming, right? The amount of inference compute that is needed to do this is just.
I mean, each human being, right, is going to be, spinning up multiple things, basically, right? Like, I mean, this is not your average user at this point, but people who are really savvy are spinning up, like, I don't know, 20 Cloud Code instances, multiple, Codex instances. So using as much horsepower as possible in parallel, right, to kind of drive outcomes. Now,
and at the same time, it frees up human capital to do other things. Right?
Absolutely.
And that means they're consuming more power and resources to do other things because they're not needing to code as much. The AI is doing the code, which frees them up to do
the
more
supervision,
work.
if you will, right? It frees them up to be agent managers, if you will. So we are definitely kind of entering a new territory here. So I think Jensen was riding the wave, and just like really hyping things up, if you will.
and then the second part of the main keynote was all about agentic compute power, right? And their new platform, which was the really targeted at the agentic workflow, Vera Rubin, right? Full stack platform offerings, 5 rack mountable solutions. They're targeting to basically give enterprises full rack capable, roll them in, plug them in, and start doing agentic solutions.
That's right. And I think part of that is in response to the fact that I guess folks are trying to decrease the amount of time necessary to get a data center up and running, right? Like an AI factory up and running, as Jensen calls it, right? So I think these kind of full-scale production-ready scale systems, right, rack systems, I think are super helpful. And I think there's been some announcements that you can actually integrate other chips, or you can put in other chips into an NVIDIA rack.
Well, and that was part of their 7 new chips, including the Vera CPU, right? So I don't know what the Vera CPU actually is.
I am not super familiar, but I mean the fact that CPUs are now sort of becoming integral part of the CPU GPU architecture, right? To kind of drive these workflows, even storage, obviously, memory, right? Memory has been a huge theme in 2025, and
Then they announced 5 rack scale systems, full rack scale system. We touched on that.
Yeah.
1 supercomputer design, right? So if you want a supercomputer design, they always talk about Blackwell was always the a supercomputer, in a chip, right? Now they're announcing a new supercomputer design, and then storage. Their Bluefield STX storage architecture announced that, and then they're also talking software, AI factories in software for physical build out, right?
So the Omniverse thing, I think that's been the digital twin thing, and robotics, I guess, adjunct, right? I mean, they've been, I don't know, talking about it, and their software, obviously, that they've been putting out the last couple of years. Really, what stood out for me is that they are investing literally at every layer in the stack, right? Starting, of course, from the chips and so on, but also obviously CUDA, all the Python libraries, etc. But building vertical sort of stack, if you will, for like healthcare, for biotech, for digital twins, for robotics. Like every vertical, they seem to be putting a ton of energy, right? And so the question really is this going to pay off in the medium to long term? It might, right? But definitely, as an organization, Jensen has to make sure that they're not spreading themselves too thin, right? So it's a pretty interesting strategy, and of course, the Grok acquisition, right? Is part of this as well, which means, hey, the kind of output and architecture that Grok has, which is like 500 different chips, right? 500 chips of Grok LPUs, language processing units, equals to 1 GPU output. So it's an entirely different architecture, right? And I'm not super close to these architectures, but what it tells me is there's a bunch of sort of work that they're going to be doing to make these things, from an inference standpoint, right? They're going to be pretty competitive, right? Just in terms of latency, etc., which I believe LPUs do a great job of.
Well, and that gets to the second kind of segment we can talk about, which is, Apple announced, I call it everyone is using everyone else's services, right? The integration of the AI services from the big vendors, right? Apple announced Siri is going to use Google. Google announced they're using Broadcom's AI chips. Anthropic is going to use Google Rack Solutions. And so if you look at, NVIDIA announced using Grok's LPU, as part of their service, and OpenAI doing deal with AMD. So all of these announcements are kind of, frenemying all together these services, and I think it's just because they're trying to save money, get to market sooner.
I mean,
people
I think
getting advantages in certain areas,
correct.
And so taking advantage of that.
I think so, right? I mean, everybody is trying to get to market the fastest. They have to meet the demand, right? Instead of destroying demand, right? That they're seeing, like the ChatGPTs and the Claudes are seeing. To meet that demand, they have to kind of figure out how that is going to be met, right? So I think all of these arrangements, right? Like Anthropic using, Google TPUs, and then, as you said, and
it might just be conservation of capital, right? Sooner or later, you just run out of money. Right, even Elon Musk has to have some money constraint, right? Or the finance systems in general, run out of money, right? They literally don't have more money they can borrow.
Right. I mean, and all the circular deals, right, which was viewed with some suspicion, right? I think is also in effect from a NVIDIA standpoint, it's trying to cultivate the ecosystem and make sure that they remain in the center, really, is also part of it, right? I mean, they've been investing up and down the stack, right? I mean, they invested in Lumentum, Coherent, in the optical players. Of course, they've put in money in OpenAI. So they are definitely, kind of what seems like, I mean, it is to a trained eye, it's clearly strategic, right? Like, and astute actually, which will probably pay off handsomely in the long run. But
so
anyway, yeah.
I watch the news, and I listened all week, and I want your perspective on OpenAI. Is NVIDIA, with all their AI deals, are they overshadowing ChatGPT and OpenAI, or you're closer to the space?
Yeah. So I mean, I think in the last 3 months, I'd say, right, like last 2 months, 3 months, definitely Claude / Anthropic, right, is taken the limelight, right, because they've been like, the software like Claude Code, for example, is executing really well. Chat like Claude is more human. I don't know, right? It's better in its quality of the language, etc. Right? So better reasoning, maybe even, right? So OpenAI in the last, I would say, several weeks has lost a little bit of the sheen.
I feel like they've lost a lot. Right? I'm not as close to it as you are.
The thing is, right?
But I feel like development with Claude is really
Claude,
impacting businesses, and everybody's talking about it.
Right? Coding, there's no doubt, right? Like Claude Code is the gold standard at the moment, right? People don't talk about Codex as much as they do about Claude, but I think we are in the valley, right? So there's a little bit of a bubble effect, right? What we really got to remember,
because we're in the valley.
We are kind of close, right?
Full of engineers. Right.
But ChatGPT is used by 900 million people, weekly active users, right? 900 million, that's a huge number. Anthropic's total numbers, right, for Claude equals ChatGPT's usage in Texas alone, right? Like, right? So we are talking about like two different kind of sets of numbers, right?
Right. They're not comparable.
They're not comparable. And ChatGPT did see back in December, I think, about 2-3 months ago, they saw a drop, right, which was attributed to Claude taking some of those business. Like, I don't know. I mean, there was a little bit of backlash, etc., with what ChatGPT did with the federal government. With the deal about Claude saying we don't want to be used with the Department of War and stuff.
You can't. We're not going to give you data. We're not going to monitor.
That's right. So notwithstanding all of that, if you are an average user, I don't know, in Oklahoma or Kansas or I don't know, even in New York City, right, but not super close to tech, you are probably pretty happy with ChatGPT and the output it's giving you, and and of course, OpenAI is not just sitting.
So they still have first.
I think they have
in the raw numbers.
And I think the philosophical difference that I see between Sam Altman and Dario Amodei of Anthropic is that Sam Altman is the classic sort of VC. Go big, right? Like go for the maximum scale possible, right? And it's okay to lose money all the way through 2030, right? But if you hear Dario, right, in his podcast and his point of view, he is very far more conservative, right, in how his spending pattern is, and he wants to make sure they don't go bankrupt, etc. Like it's a different mental model, right? So I would say that's partly reflected, in some of these approaches. And even in the speed.
Well, maybe I'm just getting exposed to so much more because of all the announcents that that OpenAI is just back there taking a back seat last week, right? And that's okay. Every week is
this is like race cars running on a racetrack, right? You never know who's going to overtake whom. So we'll have to continue to monitor the situation. Yeah.
All right. Next up. Let's talk about
the layoffs.
Yeah, the layoffs. So we'll see if we can get the layoffs going here.
Yeah.
Layoffs all over the place, right?
Yes.
Like, that's been on everybody's mind in the Bay Area, right? Because it's impacting people.
Yeah.
Now, I had a friend who got let go as part of the Atlassian.
Right. I know someone
reorg, and I think they let off 10%, right? Let's just talk about the layoffs. So Atlassian, 10%. Oracle announced 20 to 30,000 employees
Facebook 15,000.
Yeah, Facebook 15, Block
5,000.
5,000. SaaS apps are constricting
yes,
like everybody.
Right.
There's a lot in the Bay Area, and Apple's got a hiring freeze, and so I personally think this is not about AI displacing jobs as much as it is capital reallocation.
Yes, it is about. I think there is a couple of things, right? Like one, it doesn't take too much. I mean, it just takes common sense to see the fact that AI is now able to do the job that you needed multiple humans to take multiple hours, multiple days. The thing spits out in a few minutes, right? Potentially in some things, right? So there is no doubt that AI is taking some of that sort of share, right, of the work. But really, the narrative here, I'd like to say, is that the capital is being allocated from human labor to AI labor, or another way of putting it, from human intelligence to AI, compute intelligence, right? So many of these companies, including Oracle, need the money to get that AI compute. So yes, they are letting go of people, right?
I think it's less about getting the AI compute for their own use as much as they're trying to grab capital to rework their offerings to be AI enabled.
Yeah, right? Different people have different problems, I'd say, right? Like Oracle, for example, has a deal with OpenAI, right, to provide a certain amount of compute. It was going to happen through Stargate. I think that's fallen through, but they have obligations, and they are, like, for the first time in history, in their company's history, Oracle's history, they are negative free cash flow, right? Like, so how are they going to fix that? Well, laying off a bunch of people, right, and then using that to provide for compute, right? Facebook, Facebook, Google, Microsoft, huge cash flows, right? But even they, are spending, between all of these people, I think in 2026 they're going to spend north of $600 billion, right, on AI capex. So that's a very substantial number, right? Yeah. So, in any case, some of that is clearly coming from human capital.
And then if we look at SaaS services and agentic workflows, agentic workflows might put some certain SaaS apps just right out of business, right?
I think the whole SaaSocalypse happened. I think SaaS apps are clearly under threat, right now. My take is that some of these players, let's say CrowdStrike or Palo Alto Networks, these are deeply entrenched in corporate workflows. So they're not going away anytime soon, but they are going to, from a stock market perspective, like capital markets, they're going to go from being a growth play to a value play, right? Like that's kind of really what, there's going to be the valuation is going to get a reset, right? So that's happening. And then, of course, internally within these companies, they just don't need as many people because...
Right? My example is I look at Intuit, right? It's tax season.
Right.
Everybody's dealing with taxes now, right? And you're either using QuickBooks or using TurboTax or you're using TurboTax for home and business. And there's a lot of... You're using this stuff. None of this has been enabled with AI lately. If you've used TurboTax right now, it doesn't have AI in it at all, right?
Yes.
But TurboTax does a good job going out and talking to my E-Trade, my Fidelity, and my Charles Schwab, and getting all my,
which
my
it did even before, right?
No, it's doing it. It did that. It's done that.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, if they had implemented AI on this, I would just be able to say, do my taxes, and get all the data, pull it all in, do it all in, and then ask me a couple of questions, right? Like, and really AI should do the whole tax return for me. I shouldn't have to sit and fill out screens and fill out more screens. And so these type of software vendors, SaaS vendors, right? Because they offer it online. They're effectively a SaaS vendor. When they implement AI, now they need engineers to implement the AI in their products,
That's right.
Which means they're going to have to get rid of some engineers to get other engineers, right? Then you have to get capital to build out the systems, racks of, buying NVIDIA racks, right? For agentic workflow for your tax season, right?
Right.
And that replicates itself throughout all the industries, right? Whether it's Macy's shopping or whether it's bank systems or whatever, it's
the question
it's coming, and then you got to free up capital to build these things.
Yes. Freeing up capital is true, but with Intuit, as an example, the question would be: is it Intuit that's going to implement those agentic workflows, or there's going to be an AI native play that comes along, right? and implements it. And in the case of taxes, I actually know that where AI is getting implemented in this stack, right, is with accountants. So your CPA, if you're getting stuff done with a CPA, your CPA is most likely, well, many of them, right, is working with a piece of software that he can ask questions and he knows 100% for sure that it's a correct answer. There's no hallucination, right? So I mean, that I know is already being used, but like implementing agentic workflows for taxes for the retail end customer looks like we gotta wait. I don't know, maybe next tax season.
I think it's gonna come quicker, and I think that everybody's going to be doing this right over time, right? Yes. And some of these workloads that are out in cloud right now, I think are going to move back on prem because some of the vendors are worried that AI will look at their data and then be able to just go write the app based on the data, and all of a sudden Amazon will be offering SaaS apps that aren't SaaS, they're just AI workflows to do my taxes, right? When is Amazon just going to go like, don't worry, we got your taxes for you now?
I know. No, I mean, some people have expressed that concern, with OpenAI, for example, right? That hey, if you either take money from them or you're sending all your like API calls, right? Your token calls. Right. They know exactly all the queries and so on. So that and of course they're going to build on the most lucrative ones, right? Like AWS, right?
So they do for all of their physical products as well,
right. So that definitely
Amazon
is a
Fire
risk.
Stick and everything else.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting, I think. But I think what I want to say also is that with these SaaS apps, and tax is a fantastic example, where the last mile, which is like very, very targeted workflows that is needed to execute the tasks, some of these folks may have a moat, actually, right? Like, because a generalized LLM may not be able to do that stuff 100%. Like today, at least. Right? Yeah, we don't know what it's going to look like 24 months from now, but am I going to be able to rely on like a LLM to go do my taxes today? Clearly not, right?
But I think that based on what NVIDIA announced at GTC, that they're betting that agentic workflows is where it's going to be.
No doubt.
They're going to sell a ton of it to the data center.
I mean, agentic workflows is definitely the narrative for not only 2026, but it's probably going to intensify in 27, right? I don't know what's the new terminology, but there's just like the number of agents that people are going to spin up is just going to be way, way more, right? And it'll probably operate in the background, and we may not even know it, right? Like I express a certain intent to the LLM, and then boom, right? It'll work for 20 minutes.
Well, and getting back to getting back to layoffs, right? Yeah. And where I think it's going to go, I kind of saw this kind of stuff happening when we got virtualization, right? Virtualization moves CPU utilization from one CPU per application to now you can get 20 applications on one CPU, right? So we got a 20-to-1 consolidation, right? And what that meant was for the next X number of years, Dell didn't make as much money, right? Because you could just use your current computer, and you didn't have to refresh, you didn't have to buy that. Right. For some number of years, because over time you consume that capacity because there's still growth every year, and so how long did it take them to grow up that 20x capacity? About 4 years.
4 years. I'm kind of curious with the Javon's paradox kind of play in, which is because now you have more space, did people just actually create more workloads, more applications that used up all that stuff faster?
Right. That's what I say. We saw that we call it server sprawl, right? Virtual server sprawl, where you used to just have the number of machines that you could afford to have in the rack, one app per thing. But as soon as you enabled virtualization, we got a 20-to-1 consolidation. But then everybody would, I want this app, so I want that app, I want that, because all of a sudden it was just a click of a button to get a new machine, right? And so the price of, and as we know, supply and demand, right? As price goes down, demand goes up. Same with software engineering, right? Price has taken a 20-to-1 hit, right? You can do 20 times more software for your one engineer because of AI, right? But guess what? That means your price is dropping. Yes. And guess what happens to demand when you lower price, right?
Yeah, I think the demand for, the amount of code that's being generated, I'm sure, if there's some study that's been done, right? Like, let's say the amount of code written in GitHub today, in the first 3 months of 2026 as compared to 2025, there must be a massive jump, would be my take, like speculation. So yeah, I think as the cost of writing software goes down, we should expect to see.
They did have at GTC. They did have some robots, right? But it was very disappointing. I was very disappointed they didn't have, my android, my full humanoid robot that would talk to me and hang out in the studio with us. We want to get an android in the studio with us, right? But it just wasn't there yet. A lot of the android stuff that they did announce was, more factory automation, monitoring, security, nothing that I would say like, hey, we're going to have our buddy here and he's going to be. Although, when I'm talking to AIs, right, whether I fall in love with ChatGPT or Grok, right, and Grok has a female voice now, and so it's like, I really do connect with them, and I just can't understand why we don't have a robot yet.
I mean, like the whole thing about the Chinese New Year, all those robots. Then I don't know if you saw those. Those were crazy, amazing, actually. Right. So so China clearly, I don't know. At least the showcasing of all those robots in China seems to be at a different level compared to what we see here. I'm not.
And then once we have robots, then we'll be out of a job, right? Because they'll sit here and
do this podcast, do
the shows,
pontificating and expressing
after
opinions.
dark.
But
right.
Yeah. No, I think with layoffs, I think what I'd say is two things, right? Like just in terms of relevance, is that Anthropic released like a spider chart of what jobs are likely to go away because of AI and which ones are not, and then so software tops the list, I guess, like almost 100% of it is going to be automated kind of thing, 95%. While plumbers and electricians are definitely going to be around.
I don't believe it.
You don't?
I think that's an easy thing for some analyst to sit who's been told, hey, produce a report, right? This is a hot topic. Let's but somebody there's like, oh, what can we write today? Everybody has to figure out what their agenda needs to be, their show agenda, and we do the same thing when we're looking at what are we doing after dark here. Like, I feel like that's an easy thing to say. Oh, AI is going to get rid of all software engineers, right? Because
not all software engineers, but
the ball. Oh, we're going to just. I again think that some of the layoffs are capital reallocation, not necessarily need for software, but they're just shifting priority. They're putting new versions of software on the back burner. It's good enough for right now. We need to spin up AI, right? And so it's easy to let some of the software engineers go, even though you still might need them.
Yeah.
It's easy so that I get some more capital to invest where I need to invest. I'll hire the programmers back. And, we've seen some of that, right, going on, right?
So you expect some of these people to come back?
I think they'll consume the capacity and they'll bring people back.
I see. Right? I think there's going to be refactoring of code. That much is clear, actually, with all these existing SaaS applications. All of the code is going to get refactored, which AI
it's a
is
20
really
to 1. It's a 20 to 1.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
There's an old phrase in software, right? When somebody gives me the existing software, you know what I do? I rewrite it. Because I don't like it. It's not mine. Right. AI is going to get the new software. What are they going to do? They're going to rewrite it. Why? Because I could rewrite it better, right? I don't see anything that changing, right?
Anyway, No, so I think this is an interesting topic. Right. Unfortunately, probably we're going to see more layoffs the rest of the year, but
as we're in for a 4-year transition, but then I think we'll catch up with the capacity, and I think we'll see.
We're going to see new categories. It's just a question of what those categories are going to be. So we'll definitely have to.
All right, the final topic for the show here is OpenClaw, right? And Neo Claw. What is it? Nemo
Claw. So now we are beginning to see sort of variants of OpenClaw pop up all over the place. So there's OpenClaw.
So maybe we should just talk about what OpenClaw is first. So for people that are listening that might not even know what this is. What is OpenClaw?
So I think. so full transparency, I haven't installed it on my machine because the biggest issue with OpenClaw, before we even go into what it is security.
Just tell us what it is. I know you got your issues with it.
So I think it's basically maybe orchestrator, if you will, right? That can go connect to your email, to your SMS, to your Slack, to your Notion, and actually do things for you, right? You express your intent, it'll go find a way to do it, right? It'll go install, right, Claude skills, go serve the web, whatever it is, use a bunch of tokens.
So it's a butler. It's your own personal assistant.
Yeah, that's a great way of saying it.
Right.
A great way of saying it. And the thing is, it's able to be your butler because it has the permissions it needs by default. It has access to your file system, or it has so it has very deep access if you were to install it on your machine, right? So it can actually go do things for you, right? Like, so that's what it is. Now,
okay, so it's a fully agent-based AI, your own private AI that then has the agentic, connections to be able to accomplish things for you.
Exactly, right? So this is unprecedented kind of capability, right?
Now, people have been trying to do this,
correct,
right?
That's right.
So this is just an open framework that allows everybody to plug in their agents to their MCP connection?
MCP, so Model Context Protocol, MCP, right, was launched. Yeah, it's been about a year now, right? But I think with OpenClaw, I forget the founder of OpenClaw now, his name, but when he launched, it's about 2.5 months, 3 months now, right? Like it really caught on for wildfire. It got 100,000 stars on GitHub, like the fastest ever, even more than Linux, right? Like, so it's like really caught on like crazy, especially in China. I believe it's like huge. And there was an OpenClaw meetup today here in Palo Alto. I couldn't go to it, but yesterday I was at an event where the founder of Near Protocol, a blockchain protocol, he released his version. He called it Ironclaw, right? And which has some security considerations baked in, right? Which are helpful actually.
Right. And the reason is because OpenClaw is totally open.
So we're going
to have the versions of Linux happen around around the claws.
So prompt injection, all kinds of like exfiltrations are super easy with OpenClaw, right? Basically, so you got to be super careful with it. So I think NemoClaw, which was Jensen's version of OpenClaw, which he sort of released the keynote, is one where everything is locked down by default, right? So it's an enterprise grade version, if you will. Somebody has to go explicitly give it permission to go connect to email, right? Like, so it's like flipping it a little bit, right? So, people are now, playing with that. And I think the latest terminology is just a claw, right? Like claw is becoming like a concept, if you will, right? As to a certain sort of agentic methodology, I suppose. Right?
Where did claw come from?
Oh my God, the thing went through so many variations in names, right? So when the founder launched it, it was first called Claude, right? OpenClaw. From OpenClaud,
I'm not even sure it was open at the time, but there was just something Claude.
No, it was open source. It was open source, of course, right? Project. Yeah. Okay. I don't know if it was open. Yeah, if the word was open was there, but if there was Claude sued him.
Something
so
Claude.
They changed it. Yeah. So then he changed it to Claw.
Right.
And then it became OpenClaw. Right?
There you go.
Right. And then, of course, he launched a social network for agents, which was called Moltbook, which Facebook acquired, actually. And he joined OpenAI. So OpenAI acquired him, and so the social network OpenAI, Facebook took over. So, any case, so it's an interesting trajectory, right? So that's definitely the hot thing at the moment. To play with, and Claude and Codex, OpenAI, we should expect to see like variants of that OpenClaw methodology in their tools, and Claude is actually implementing that. So they released something today that's actually a flavor of what some aspects of OpenClaw, for example, right?
Now I wonder if there's a commercial race to get your MCP kind of data injected into this, so that your services, if I'm Macy's shopping and I want you to order my stuff versus somebody else's stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, a good example, I mean, that's not an MCP, but like a good example is Walmart, right? Walmart has been working with OpenAI, right? And they have opened their whole catalog, right? Like millions of whatever, millions of products, right? That they have. And that catalog is, and so they are working with OpenAI to see how to enable agentic commerce, right? How can I buy something within my ChatGPT interface? So
and that's why, like, when you have an open standard like OpenClaw, it gives everybody, like Microsoft tried to create in the old days of the network, they tried to create their own proprietary network. I think it was Microsoft Network, right? That's what they called it. And the internet took over and managed to box Microsoft out of the network business, right? But you could see where Amazon would like to have their, Anthropic, use their shopping network, and it's not open. It's closed agentic workflows. Where OpenClaw might just be an open platform to enable even playing field for agentic work.
I think the whole open source ecosystem around AI, I think, is super healthy and necessary, right? Like, I mean, we see all these models that are trailing just by a little bit, right? Like these frontier models from the labs. So I think there is a lot of potential here. So, and I mean, apparently the guy is super modest, the founder of OpenClaw, and but like by all accounts, it's pretty revolutionary.
Talk about being thrown into the into the world of greatness,
into the limelight. So super phenomenal. So I'm hoping to, soon here at least do it in a VPS, like in a secure environment where it doesn't have too much access. But sounds super exciting. Well, so Jensen was all over it. I mean, in the keynote. Oh my God, he was. He was like super gung ho about it. So
that's why we have the image up on the plasma here, right? It's like, he was there. He was talking about it. NemoClaw, was there. I'm still not sure what their position from NemoClaw is versus OpenClaw.
No, I mean,
is it just because it's running on their hardware, or
no? My understanding is that it's no. You can do a pip install. Is my understanding, right? Like, so that's the same thing. But it is. If I were to install NemoClaw, I don't have to worry about it getting default access to a bunch of things from a permission standpoint. So it's as if it's it's installed within the enterprise firewall, etc. Now again,
so they make a box. They make.
It's not hardware. It's not hardware. It's software.
No, I mean, it's software, but they make a container based.
Correct. That's right. Right. So that if an organization, I don't know if a Walmart.
Then they probably have rules for interconnects, right? That that you can set. Proxy mechanisms to allow you to control your NemoClaw.
Right, exactly. So that's kind of the the variant here, right? And so we're soon gonna. I mean, honestly, like if I'm a Claude user now with Claude Code, right? I would expect Claude to incorporate a lot of these things. That'd be awesome, and they are doing it, right? Like, so this is how we're gonna see the Claude methodology, right, being baked into different things, right? Like. Which is what we're going to see.
I wonder how many AI programmers are going to need to build the platforms themselves. Right?
Which platforms? You mean
all the platforms? You mean
the AI platforms?
Open? Yeah. You have to have OpenClaw, right? You have to have somebody that knows how to build components that get interjected into OpenClaw.
How many pull requests they have every day? I mean, it's open source. They have 2,000 PRs every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Right. Just
so crazy amount of interest, right? And somebody.
That's what I get by programmers might still be in demand. Everybody just has to shift to what they're going to be building.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, look,
AI requires a lot of coders, and it's not easy.
It requires a lot. Andrew Karpathy, he says he's not written a single line of code since December, right? His job is now to supervise, right? Like to review. So the biggest bottleneck right now in the coding cycle is review, is my understanding, right? It's not even testing, it's like review first, right?
Yeah, do you want to put something, how much do you want to put in production that you...
You have whatever, 5,000 lines of code in front of you, right? Like you got to understand it and make sure that, it's not like going to break your production system. So... that is definitely a difficult task, with all the AI code. So it's kind of super interesting.
It will be interesting, and we will absolutely come back every day and track it, right?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
So again, what a great week. Just such a show. Lots going on, at the show. I'm exhausted. I want to go get a beer now. It's the end of the week, and what a week. Looking forward to next week. See what's going on, and we'll bring you After Dark every night if we can. Right? Just keep you updated on what's AI. Get some guests in here, and
I love talking about AI.
About
it's super interesting and exciting. Thank you, Eric.
All right, thanks a lot. Everybody have a great rest of your weekend.